Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to all of the beautiful empowered harmonizers. We are zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question, and that is to go into a little bit more in depth on how to empower yourself, how to snap out of it, how to get a sense of security and confidence after you've been through a series of covert narcissistic relationship experiences. In other words, a covert narcissist who generally will abuse not by an overt means, meaning something that you can identify out in the open. It is something that is hidden or secretive or oftentimes withdrawn or withheld. And it's very difficult to identify and treat, and then to adjust really how that individual then identifies with a strong sense of self because it's so nebulous, because it is so covert and hidden. Something like the withholding of nurturing. How do you identify that? There's no check sheet. Did you give your significant other a hug, every 20 hours? There's no sort of guideline, there's no guidepost, there's no regulation, so to speak, or sort of balance that people can sort of attach themselves to and identify. Is this, a healthy relationship where I'm getting my needs met, or is this an unhealthy relationship where I'm really not getting my needs met? The difficulty, once again, relies or it abides in sort of that secretive, nebulous area. Nebulous meaning very difficult to articulate or identify. And really the issue here is the identification process. How you are able to identify your needs and how you are able to stand up for them and articulate and keep an open line of communication rather than it allowing to sweep things under the rug or basically sweep you under the rug because it is so nebulous and difficult to identify. So when we talk about getting a sense of balance and confidence back, is to know that you have to identify with your own self as important and worthy of being listened to and being heard above and beyond what you feel is difficult to articulate. In other words, it is knowing that deep within you there is something that is not coming from a sense of make-believe. This is something real. This is the real deal. This is actual pain. There is a lack of flow here. Oftentimes you can identify the feeling when, if you kind of do a step back and ask, is there a flow here? In other words, if you think about the relationship in a sort of reflective mode right now, if you're able to reflect, and you can say, is there a sense of flow when I think about the relationship right now? Or is there a blockage? Is there a pain? Chances are there is something that is not a good fit. This is causing and a source of the discomfort. The withholding means that if there's a message communicated that unless you comply with these demands, you are not going to receive the love, the attention, the affection. It's withholding of love as a punishment, which becomes part of the problem. That becomes really a source of withholding your needs, just like withholding food or water. It's just sort of a deprivation that you are going to be deprived unless you conform to my control. And so it's a very subtle form of control. It is very difficult, once again, to articulate. But we find this in all sorts of, either family dysfunction or intimate relationship dysfunction with someone who is perhaps, your significant other. Withholding of communication, withholding of affection, withholding of, whatever it is that you are supposed to just participate in as part of your relationship. I'm not going to make the dinner. I'm not going to drive the kids. I'm not going to clean the house. There's all this sort of punitive measures, which is withholding which can become abusive. And the problem, once again, is where then people then give in or throw their hands up and, to this sort of abuse, and then they conform to that control. And it can become a rigidity if it's repeated again and again. A rigidity meaning that people will then give in and then just, feel a sense of lack. I'm not good enough, so I might as well just give up. I must conform. I must put up and shut up. Yeah, there's going to be compromise and things of that nature in life, but the real issue is that life does not become abundant and flourishing in a safe place and fodder for happiness if it becomes this sort of superficial, I must adhere to the control. And once again, we're not talking about, regular cooperation where, you're cooperating with, stopping at the stop sign. We're talking about, withholding, the intentional withholding of what is an ordinary, comfortable environment in other words, to make it so uncomfortable that because you can't communicate, in order to relieve the discomfort, you just concede, you give in, and you go without. And there's a degree of suffering or unhappiness. So people might oftentimes think, well, you're going to have to suffer in relationships. That's part of, the cooperative nature. That's part of what relationship meeting in the middle is that I have to suffer. And it's going to be hard. Relationships are hard work. So there's all these tenets then that tend to permeate, the concepts with which you then approach your relationships on a philosophical basis. In other words, men, don't have feelings. Don't ask for too much. Don't speak up or discuss this. Don't have that discussion. Or women shouldn't have to pay for this, or there's all these tenets which then cause this sort of suffering. And, so you have to look at those and to see to what degree has that really served you, and to be rigorously honest with yourself and say, wow, I put up with a lack, or I'm now fostering a lack of sense of self, or a lack of what I can sort of looking forward that I can experience in my relationships, and it's very limited. It's like a vine that's just sort of wrapping you up, and it just feels restrictive. The relationship feels restrictive. The environment feels restrictive. You feel limited. This then can become housed as a limited self-belief, and it can inhibit you from thinking of solutions above and beyond, and you never really venture on the journey of self-discovery. You never learn to sort of think outside of that suffering. The suffering is an overwhelm, and this can be, a real, once again, punitive and sort of making one on the weakness. And so feeling like there's a weakness in the relationship and you must give it up because of what is lacking, and that eventually, the limits will be lifted. So, become aware of the fact that your strength is going to come from stepping back and looking and knowing that you have honored this individual. You have, but the honoring has caused a sense of suffering, and a doing without in the relationship has not been a tenet that is most, it's not flourishing. It's keeping you in a sense of lack. We'll never have this. We'll never do this. We'll never feel this. So it becomes a sense of deprivation. So be very careful to the degree that you have entered into then what can become like the life of an ascetic, doing without. Not doing anything, not going anywhere, not learning anything, not growing or strengthening yourself, not improving your mental or physical strength and adaptability. Just sort of, staying in that low level aesthetic life, meaning it's not really, it doesn't, you're not in touch with your purpose. You're not in touch with a mission. You're not in touch with receiving. So really look at the degree to which then it's then affected you and you feel that you are not able then to receive. Receiving is a very important strength that you need to get into really a new mind space, if you will. And rather than receiving lack, begin to open up and be able to receive the signs and symbols and experiences that you feel that you've been deprived of. Allow the universe to reveal itself. Allow life to reveal itself. In other words, tell yourself that I'm now going to be open and receptive to better design, better action steps, better goals, better horizons, and better connections with others where I feel a sense of happiness and a sense of, lack of, I don't want to say lack, but devoid of hesitancy and devoid of limitation. In other words, begin to notice when you're drawing then experiences to you that invite a sense of meaningfulness without feeling that you're limited in the relationship. In other words, you can be yourself and not worry that they're going to do a bait and switch on you, where you can have a conversation where you can then receive and sort of open up really what is the quantum field, which is within you. You have to understand that it's then within, that you draw it towards you, rather than feeling that, always looking without, that oftentimes that you are on a hypersensitive mode if you're in a relationship with a covert narcissist, or there's been this sort of manipulation. Realize that it creates a sense where you always have to sort of have an external locus of control. Begin to identify how that has affected your life, and then be able to de-identify or identify more so with a life within. In other words, to come within, if you will, and now allow the universe for you to receive. Allow the universe to give. Allow the universe to show itself off, and that allow it to communicate to you today. Meaning, what sort of positive and flourishing feeling can I draw to me? How can I allow the universe to communicate to me and come in a feeling, an image, something nonverbal, something that is pure and simple, and in sort of, a childlike, playful manner, so that you're becoming more, within the body, within itself, meaning that you're not always worried about trying to take care of others outside of yourself. Allow the universe to give to you, and allow yourself to take notice and heed of those, so you start filling up your own cup, rather than feeling a sort of, lack of confidence because of what you don't have. People are oftentimes running on vapors, they're running on empty, and they're going to be on, a repeat. In other words, ending up sabotaging or reducing themselves in relationships, or making themselves look stupid or needy, or acting immature in a way that isn't, attractive or satisfying or in alignment with how you want to be. In other words, people, if they're coming out of covert relationships, often are feeling so deprived that they have just, a lack of, a healthy sense of self, and they, then blow it. They push away others who would be positive confidence, who would be, great people to relate to. They mess things up. They could become so worried about being perfect that they become utterly imperfect. So realize that, you have to sort of reframe things and be able to receive today. See to what degree you can receive the positive, and just sort of keep quiet. Get out of the analysis paralysis. We have a lot of viewers who sort of overthink things. Begin to let that subside. Identify the chitter chatter, the the tape that keeps rolling. I'm unhappy, I'm this, I'm that, and stop identifying with the negative. Just ceasing that will be a great step in the right direction, and allow yourself to receive opportunity, messages, signs, things that you are looking for the answer to. Begin to present this and pose this to the universe and say, today I am open to sublime and higher guidance. And please reveal to me what that is so it'll lead me along the right path. And please make this easy. And see if you can experience a change and shift of energy that's incoming, that's you're attracting, then you're drawing to you in an effortless manner. It's a shift of mindset, I think, that will allow you to enter into an expansiveness rather than a restrictiveness that tends to permeate relationship with covert narcissistic others. It's your buddy. Peace and harmony with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Have a beautiful day. You can do it. Allow yourself to receive. Be cool, calm, and collected. And allow it to come within. And allow that peace and serenity and the gratitude to fill you up. Even if it just feels very quiet, very silent, very placid, you're on the right track.